So the first question is, what is patcher? And I was actually doing here some I will have to cut this post production, but that's fine. And what patcher basically is a plugin, native plugin from FL Studio. And let's jump into FL Studio now that you can see me and hear my voice and see my screen. So I want to do two distinctions, which is, for instance, I can have here plugins, and these are called generators. As you can see here, they generate audio. I can have a piano, I can have basses, I can have synths, I can have whatever. And then I can route these instruments or generators to the mixer. And then here in the mixer, I can have effects. So something like an EQ or compressor, reverb, delay, whatever, effects. And these ones do not generate audio, but they do affect audio. As you can see, I can change here the way the audio sounds. And this is an effect, and this is a generator. Why I say this? Because patcher can be both an effect and a generator at the same time. So if I load here patcher, you see that it loads here as a generator. But if I load it here in the mixer, it also loads. So patcher can be both a generator and an effect, which is very powerful. Well, I have here a question. What is a good sound and what a bad sound? I don't understand the question, Amos, to be honest. What is a good sound and what is a bad? In terms of what? I don't understand, sorry. But let's go back here to patcher. So patcher is actually, can be both a generator and an effect. And I'm going to talk about it here in terms of the mixer. So in the mixer, what we have is a sequence of audio. So if I have 10 plugins here, what will happen is that the audio will come into plugin 1, and then after that, plugin 2, plugin 3, and so on. So the chain of effects here influence the audio path. So if we have 10 slots, they will be processed first in slot 1, then slot 2, and slot 4, 3, and so on. So this is a sequence. And I'm talking about this because here we have these 3 parameters in patcher. And this is from FL Studio to FL Studio and Surface, which means that we have audio coming from FL Studio or information coming into from FL Studio, and we can add here processing, and then we have to FL Studio. So let's say that this was in slot 2, and in slot 1 we had an EQ. So the EQ was processed, and then the output of the EQ would come into this plugin here from FL Studio. We will do our own processing, and then we would output that processing to FL Studio to continue the chain. That's basically the idea. And then we have here the surface where we can control stuff. So if we move to the surface here, we see that we have a blank canvas. And in this canvas, we can add stuff. So let's do here in the plus button. And we can see that we can have bevels, buttons, checkbox, and the keyboards, knobs, and all the things that we have natively in FL Studio. We can add them here. So let's add a knob, and let's go with a blue line. That should be fine. Let's make it big, and let's rename it. Let's call this dry, wet, or no, let's go with a simple one. Let's call this volume. Okay. And as you can see here, I can also show the grid. Let's do a grid of 10 points, and I can move it around here, something like that. That should be fine. Now, if I remove that or click here, you see that this is a little bit yellow. If I remove this, now I cannot move the knob again. I can only interact with the knob like it was a plugin. So this is a way for you to build plugins or to build your own chains as if it was a plugin. So now if we go back here to the map, we see now that we have another point there. So when we started patcher, there was no pointer. There was only this one here, the MIDI output. And we had here now this MIDI or this output, which is the volume, as you can see here in the hint panel, volume. By the way, let me see if I'm in the correct one. Probably not, but we can actually work with this. Okay, so now let's say that I want that I want to create a synth, and I want to have the control of the volume. How would I do that? So I could go here to, where is it? Let's do with the 3x oscillator. Okay, it's not supported in patcher. Let's bring another one. That's a bummer. GMS probably it is. Okay, and as you can already see, we have here the input already connected. So these two different colors, lines with different colors, they represent different things. And as you can see here, we have audio, which is the yellow one, and this is the audio. We have parameters, which is the red one, probably that one. And then we have events, which is this one here. So what happens in this case is that we don't have any audio coming from FL Studio, but we do have events. And events, for instance, are MIDI notes. And now if I play this, if I go to my keyboard and I play a C note, you see that this is sending notes, MIDI notes into GMS, and then GMS is sending audio signal to FL Studio. And that's why whenever I click a note, you see this movement of the arrows. Okay, it means that we are sending MIDI notes, and then this is getting the MIDI notes and generating audio to patcher or to FL Studio through this connection. And of course, we can change the volume here, and we can do a lot of stuff. So I wanted to add a volume to the GMS. Of course, GMS also has output volume here, but that's not the point. The point here is to show you the functionality of patcher. So I would go here. I would go to now effects, to the effects section here, and I would go to gain. And for instance, I would add a Panomatic. Okay, and now it created me here an instance of Panomatic. So now I want to put this Panomatic in between GMS and FL Studio. So to do that, I just drag this and connect the lines as so. And now I can go here, and if I play any notes, you will see that it's still generating audio. But now I can control here the volume, and you see that the lines are still generating or are still giving notes here. We still have notes coming in from FL Studio to GMS. The audio is also going to Fruity Panomatic, but here we created or we removed the volume, and there's no audio coming out of Panomatic because we removed the volume. So that's the powerful thing about Edison or Patcher, is that you can create your own flows. You can create your own processing based on this. And now I want to connect this bottom, this volume button, to this volume button here. And to do that, I have to right click on Fruity Panomatic, and I go here to inputs, and let's see which one. We have here volume. And if I click here, you see that now we have another point there. And now I can just drag and drop this point here. And if I go to surface, and if I start moving this, you see that it moves automatically that knob. And the good thing about this is that, for instance, with one knob, you can map to different things. So let's say that I had here another instance, let's say maybe some reverb. Let's do that. Let's do a reverb here, and let's connect the reverb parallel to the volume. And I also want to affect the volume here. So what I would do, for instance, is the wet signal. Yeah, that could be it. So let's do the same thing. Inputs, and let's find the wet signal, wet level, and then we can also connect there. So now you can see that I can really do some different effects and create some parameters here that I can control, and with one single knob I can control several parameters in my flow here, in the mapping flow. So this is very powerful. That's why Patcher is one of the most powerful plugins that you can master in FL Studio, and you can have really cool effects, or have your own plugin chain here and have really cool things with Patcher.